another blitz. Hurts takes it right up the gut. Touchdown Eagles. Here's the deep ball. Got hit as he let it go. Oh, Devontae Smith. What a catch. From 54 for the win. On the way. It is there. And the Eagles remain unbeaten.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my illustrious co-host, Steven Maslij.
What is up, Matt? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. The Eagles are on a win streak. We have taken over the division. We are going to the Rams this week.
Oh.
I know, I was going to say it too.
Well, you heard the man. We're coming back after a pretty long break. A partial bye week after a Thursday night game last week where we beat the Commanders 26-18. It was a big test for the Eagles team, and they stepped up to the task. It was a bit of a close game up until the end there, but then they really pulled away in the fourth quarter and showed that they were the dominant team in this one. What are your initial thoughts on that game? I know it's a little while ago, but give me your thoughts.
Our defense stepped up immaculately in this game. I mean, shutting down Terry McLaurin, Quinyon Mitchell is just a household name at this point. He might be the best corner in the league. Like, even as a rookie, I think he has a very.
I think it's within conversation for sure.
Like, he has a very good case for. He has an amazing case for defensive rookie of the year. Sweat stepped up, getting a sack. Nolan Smith got a sack. Brandon Graham got a sack. Our defense just looks really good, dude. I'm very excited. It's been way more than expected. I know we'll go into the Bryce Huff injury and whatnot, but other than that, like, dude, I mean, Saquon just put the team on his back in this game, and I'm gonna give the flowers to Hurts too. But Saquon was unbelievable in this game. 26 touches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 52 yards. Dude, man had 200 all-purpose yards. He has been ungodly. He's been amazing. The first half of this game was, I know it was a while ago. Elliott missed 2 field goals, and it was 7-3 at halftime. Do you remember how you were feeling at halftime?
I still wasn't concerned because it did feel like we were dominating the game up to that point, despite the missed field goals. I mean, obviously, with the field goals, we would have been ahead going into halftime. And unfortunately, I wish that we would switch this up a little bit and figure it out. But we are a second-half team. We have been all year. Obviously, struggle to get started early on and then really start to take off after halftime. So I wasn't particularly concerned because our defense was playing so well and really holding them down. I mean, obviously, Jaden Daniels has had a really great rookie campaign so far, but holding them to 191 yards, a late garbage time touchdown and an interception is, it was his hardest game of the year, and it showed. And you can't doubt this defense anymore. I mean, obviously, in the beginning of the year, we had our questions, but they've not only flipped the switch, but they are the number 1 defense in the NFL right now in yards allowed and top 5 in just about every defensive category there is. So this defense has really stepped into their own, have really grown comfortable under Vic Fangio. And I couldn't be happier with the way this defense is playing. And you got to give your credit to Vic Fangio as well. I mean, obviously coming in here, it started off to a slow start, but it's clear that his veteran presence as a coach has really made a difference for this defense and has really whipped them into shape. And literally and figuratively, I feel like you can see that these players are in better shape than they were. Looking at that stretch of last year where they got late into the season, they looked out of shape. They looked tired. This doesn't look like the same team, and it doesn't look like they're dealing with the same problems. And it's really awesome to see. I mean, this defense has been stellar.
I mean, anytime a running back is their leading receiver, Eckler was getting checked on after checked on after checked on, 8 receptions, 89 yards. It was just, I mean, what more could you ask for from a defense? Like, it was fantastic. I don't want to discredit anything Jalen Hurts did. He didn't turn the ball over. Yeah, he didn't have the special game that everyone wants him to have. But Saquon shined. And, like, we're going to get more into the Hurts hate and everything. But, dude, it's just, like, crazy to me that people still hate on Hurts when he, like, what does he do wrong? Like, he hasn't done anything. Like, obviously wrong in weeks. Like we're winning. Like I just don't understand the Jalen slander. Obviously Saquon's been playing out of his mind and comfortable behind his O-line. Like, and credit to the O-line too, played fantastic. Cam Jurgens looks awesome. Mailata being back. But dude, like, let's just go. I guess we'll just hop right into it. The Hurts slander, man. Like, I just don't understand why people don't give this man his flowers whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, I feel like there's things with the eye test that you can see with Jalen Hurts that he does have his struggles here and there. But I don't think that it's fair, the amount of hate that he gets. I feel like nobody wants to talk about what he does well. They only want to talk about what he does wrong and what he's not stellar at. And no matter what way you look at it, he's at minimum a top 10 quarterback in the league, if not top 5 quarterback in the league. I mean, when you look at just going into this game that we're going into this week, obviously everybody loves to talk about how great of a quarterback Matt Stafford is and that he's got a golden arm and that, you know, this is a tough quarterback matchup to go against Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has 300 more yards, 1 more touchdown, and 2 more interceptions than Jalen Hurts does. I don't, and nobody's going to look at it that way because everybody's going to look at it and say like, oh yeah, Matt Stafford's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts is. No, like he's not. Jalen Hurts is leading this team. He's taking care of the ball. Obviously, he has his slip-ups. I don't think that any quarterback is perfect in this league. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes. He has, 13 interceptions this year? And I'm not going to change my mind and say he's still not the best quarterback in the league, So, Jalen Hurts gets no props for what he has done well and what he has done in his career. Not to mention, if you want to look at the record and how much he wins. And I know people are going to discredit that and say, oh, it's the talent. It's the talent. All these guys have had career years playing with Jalen Hurts, every single one. So I don't want to hear it. Jalen Hurts makes these guys better. These guys make Jalen Hurts better. It's a team sport. It's the way it works. So I am getting sick of the Jalen Hurts and the fact that people are still talking about whether he'll be here in a year or two. Like, give it a rest. He's our franchise quarterback, and he wins games consistently for us. We are 8-2 this year. Last year, we started 10-1. The year before that, we went to the Super Bowl. So can people please get it through their heads that this guy wins football games and he does things well? Like, why are people upset that I understand that Saquon's a dog, right? And we're going to use Saquon because why wouldn't you use Saquon when you have Saquon on your football team? But they're going to use that as, oh, they're doing that because Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. And they're doing that because Jalen Hurts, they want to limit how much he's touching the ball. Give me a break. They're doing it because it's working, because it's winning football games. And yes, it does take pressure off of Jalen Hurts, and it does allow him to sit back and relax. And I appreciate that as a fan. And instead, other people are looking at that as a bad thing. And I don't get it. Like, Jalen Hurts has had a fantastic year this year. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He could do a better job with getting the ball out quicker, and there's things that he could still learn from. He's been in the league for 4 years, 5 maybe, I don't know.
But all different.
Either way, he's still young. He still has a lot to learn. He still has things to get better at, and he continues to get better at those things week by week. So I will always stand by Hurts. I absolutely believe he is this franchise's long-term quarterback, and he always will be. And the dude is going to have a great career when it's all said and done.
I mean, dude, people look way too much into the box score when, he's not throwing the ball as much. Yeah, because we don't need to. Okay,
you don't need to watch the game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's only averaging 220 yards passing game. I mean, you look at that and it's like, okay, what, dude? He
when I go back, listen. You want to hear this? When I go back to the 2017 Eagles run, when Carson Wentz was the quarterback and was the favorite for MVP. I don't have the exact number for what he averaged that year yards-wise. But if I remember correctly, he would throw for no more than 270 yards a game, if not 250. Like, he consistently threw 220 or 180 or 230 in a game, but we still won and nobody cared because we won. Why is it not the same for Hurts?
Because people seen him be at an MVP caliber, and they need him to be the best quarterback ever, and people can't get through their minds that maybe he doesn't need to be Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he doesn't have to be the best quarterback of all time in order to be an amazing player on our team. Maybe he doesn't have to. And the more that people yes, like Saquon is on a path where he is special. He's one of the most special running backs this league's seen. With his agility, ability, and everything, just all out, talent-wise. But this isn't even diss to Hurts because it's what do you want him to do? You want him to be God. They want him to be the best quarterback ever to exist.
300 yards every game. He has to run for at least 2 touchdowns and 50 yards.
Never miss a pass, never miss a read, never miss anything. Never miss anything, man. Don't make a mistake. What do you like? What do you want
from Like I said, if there's one thing I could criticize Jalen Hurts on, it is the fact that he holds the ball too long. He does semi-struggle to get through his reads quickly, and I feel like there was a time in his career where I felt like he ran through his reads much quicker than he does right now. And I don't know what the reason is for that, but I'm also 100% sure he is fully aware of that and is working to get better at it day by day. So not to mention that obviously we haven't talked about it yet, but it has gone under the radar that he's been dealing with an ankle injury for weeks now. Obviously, Nick Sirianni let it slip by accident, but there was still speculation on whether that was Jalen Hurts or if it was Jalen Carter, or if there was a mix-up there. It has now since been confirmed that he has been dealing with an ankle injury for weeks. And we're still seeing him run for first downs and get big third down conversions and still running the tush push and getting in the end zone and going out there with no complaints and doing what he can to win games. And he doesn't get nearly enough credit for it.
I mean, even last week, I thought he was concussed at halftime. He got clobbered.
He probably was.
He looked out of it. When he missed AJ on that wide open and AJ was getting a little angry, everyone was like, oh, he can't do. I'm like, he probably.
God forbid he makes one bad throw. Can we I love Philadelphia with all my heart. I love the passion that the fans have and how exciting it is to be an Eagles fan and how awesome the energy is down at the stadium and the way these guys care so much like it's their own lives. But gosh darn it, I'm sick of how negative this fan base can be and how they never want to give anybody their props. They just want to criticize. And I'm sick of it. This team is 8-2. They have the best defense in the league and a top 5 offense in the league. And somehow we're still questioning if we're in an upper echelon of the league and whether we deserve to be there or not. What?
Yeah.
What more do you need? You need to be number 1 offense too to feel comfortable. It's top 5 isn't good enough. It's just
I think the best part of all of this is after we play a team that they're not good at it. Washington was never good. They were frauds the entire time.
Yeah, 100%. I heard it all week. They were like, oh, Washington really wasn't that great, though. But nobody was saying that before the game.
So anytime we beat a team, they're not good anymore?
It's unbelievable, man. There's just no giving Philadelphia their props.
It's insane. You see a team like the Lions, they're running through teams, but they're running through crap teams. But, yeah, they're demolished. Does that make you feel that much better about them? Sure, they're 9-1 and they ran through the Jaguars. They ran through a beat up. They weren't even run through a beat up Houston. They won by 3. The Green Bay game, yeah, they won by 10, but it was a close game. Some of these games, at Minnesota, they won, but no one cares that they won on the game-winning field goal against Minnesota because they're a good team. Are they now?
I understand that Jared Goff has been incredible this year. He's been having a great season and whatnot. He throws the ball just as little as Jalen Hurts does. And he had a game where he threw 5 interceptions. And that gets looked over. He's still a top 3 favorite for MVP this year. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve that. It's just that I will forever get irritated over the lack of criticism all these other quarterbacks get. And Jalen Hurts just gets buckets poured on him. I just don't really understand it. I really don't.
And I hope we're not being biased to say this. I know we're an Eagles podcast. I know we're Eagles lovers and diehards, but gosh darn it, if I'm not trying to be objective sometimes and it's the slander against Hurts, Hurts is no good. It's am I just an Eagles fan?
It's not like it's just the national media. Our own fans do it every day. I think you could still take half the fan base that don't even want him to come back next year, which is baffling. Baffling.
I don't know what to do about it. But the only thing we can do is just keep winning, and everyone can
Winning heals all. And if Jalen Hurts takes this
up.
team to a Super Bowl, we'll never hear the conversation again.
Everyone could just shut up. But
not to mention, also, last thing about him is that this is kind of irrelevant. I just wanted to throw out there that he did have his best game of his career in the Super Bowl. I think that matters for something too. Want to throw that out there.
Doesn't matter because he lost. Doesn't matter because he lost.
Of course. But all the other quarterbacks that are better than him in his class that haven't been to a Super Bowl are doing so much better than he is.
But when Eli throws for 120 yards and then they win, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay, let's go. Let's just move on to this Rams game before we start talking nonsense.
Yeah, let's get over to this game because this is a tougher game than it would appear. Obviously, the Rams have had their fair share of struggles, but they've also been riddled with injuries all year, and they're starting to come back to full strength. This could be a very dangerous game. What are your thoughts on what this team has to offer?
This Rams team on offense, I'm nervous about. On defense, I am not. Their defense is not good at all. Jared Verse is the odds-on favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year at the current moment in time, or last time I checked at least. He's been basically their best defender. But, dude, their secondary is not good. Their linebackers are not good. They're not a good defense. The only thing I'm scared of is this reminds me a little bit of the Bucks game, but we didn't have AJ. We're going to talk about Smitty in a second, but we didn't have Smitty, AJ, and Goddard that game. And it just –
And Lane.
And Lane. Yeah. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of it just because I'm not super scared of the Bucks secondary. They had a better rush defense than the Rams do. But – like, it was just kind of like the dink and dunk. Like, you got, like, the two guys, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You got Puka and Cooper. You got a decent quarterback, like, behind there. Like, Baker, like, this reminds me a little bit of it, but I think that I'm not really scared of the Rams game.
We're in a completely different space now than we were when we played the Bucks.
Exactly.
When you go back, you heard Saquon even talk about it this week, that those first 4 games of the season almost felt like preseason to them. And it's not something you really want to hear as a fan, but at the same time, the reality is the reality. They didn't play a lot in the preseason. They didn't play their starters. The first 4 games were the starters' preseason, basically. And they weren't clicking on all cylinders, and they didn't have their full chemistry and camaraderie that they do now. And the defense was not, kicking the way that they are even close to now. So this defense is on a completely different page than they were when we played the Bucks. We have Cooper DeJean in the lineup now as well, which makes a big difference in the secondary. And the offense is obviously clicking much more than they were in the beginning of the year. I personally don't see – I understand the comparison to the Bucks game, but I personally don't see it in the same light because this team is on a completely different page than they were when they played the Bucks. And I understand that we're not going to have Devontae out there, but I personally don't think that's a massive deal when you've got AJ and Saquon out there as well. And, I mean, maybe you'll see a little bit more production out of Jahan Dotson, unsure. But point being is that when you've got 2 playmakers that are top of the league, you can afford to lose a Devontae Smith for a game. I hope that it's not for long because Devontae obviously brings a ton to the table and is one of our best offensive players. But it's not unmanageable without him as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't even mention Goddard, and he's been great this year as well.
100%. I almost forget about Goddard sometimes because of how star-studded our lineup is, and Goddard has had a few injuries this year that have kept him out consistently. But Goddard is, I personally believe, and I understand that I'm a little biased, that Goddard is easily a top 5 tight end in the league when he's playing.
He's definitely up there. I mean,
if not top 3. Top 3 could be pushing it, but
he's definitely up there when he's on. It just sometimes production doesn't go his way just because we have so many other studs out there. But he's definitely very viable and very.
Yeah, but I think that should be something that I feel like that should be considered more often. I don't think there's any other teams where with these top tier tight ends. I mean, obviously Kittle is one of one, and Kittle does still put up that production despite all the other offensive pieces that the 49ers tend to have. But
Brock Bowers now.
But Brock Bowers is the only guy on their team.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson when he was being named at the top of the league. Only guy on their team. I mean, I'm sorry, they had Jay Jettas, but despite that, it's like these guys don't have the same kind of playmakers that the Eagles have, and Dallas Goedert is still putting up that production. And I understand that it takes a hit, but when Dallas Goedert is getting involved, he's as good of a tight end as I've ever watched. So.
No, and then on the defensive side of the ball, I know Bryce Huff is going to miss significant time. I know he has been like amazing this year, but depth-wise, how does that affect like our defense in general? And just, I know he hasn't been a stud like we paid him to be, but how do you feel about how do you feel about Bryce Huff in the slightest? Are you going to miss him, or do you just I don't care?
Well, if I'm going to be truthful, I'm going to say I don't really care. Obviously, that's not realistic. He does more than the stat sheet shows. I personally, you know how I felt about him going into the season. I thought that he was going to have a really good year, and he's been a little bit lackluster in certain areas, but he's been starting to come into his own, and it's unfortunate that it timed out this way, that he was finally starting to catch his footing and then caught an injury. But I do think that it's going to lead to more time for Nolan Smith, who's been starting to really come out and do his thing. And Josh Sweat is going to stay on the field all the time. Personally, I kind of see it as an opportunity for other guys to grow. So I'm not super upset about it. Obviously, I wish him quick healing and all the best. And I hope that he comes back out as quickly as possible. But I don't really think it's going to be so impactful that it's going to make a big difference negatively.
Okay. Just depth-wise, I mean, it would never want to lose a guy, especially. I mean, Jalen Hurts, I hope will come into his own, kind of replacing him, kind of coming in as that like third guy. You don't want to overplay Brandon Graham, and like he's still getting older and still a vet. I mean,
has to continuously, rotate. So I understand that aspect of it.
Well, other than that, if we can have like Jalen Hurts step up, we can have a couple other guys step up. It would be like Booker. That would be fantastic. But other than that, dude, I feel good about this game. I'm a little scared of just because of Sean McVay's offense. Sean McVay's a great coach, and
he is, and he tends to play better against better teams.
Yeah, because he can coach with the best of them, and yeah, they're coming off a win at New England. It was kind of a scrappy win. They haven't really. They're not really good. Their offensive line isn't good. Their defensive line, they're not a good team. Like
no.
Talent-wise,
we are clearly the better team, but that's exactly why it feels like a trap game, because they have pieces in place that can be big difference makers in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Tyron and Matt Stafford. And when you have a coach like Sean McVay, he knows how to get them prepared, to get them ready, and what to do to pick apart the Eagles. So I do think that I don't think it's going to be some blowout. I'd be pretty shocked if it's a blowout, but I do think that we are the clear better team here, and that this is a game that we should win. But it's definitely, by all means, it's a tough game. The Rams are not pushovers, despite that they have had their lackluster moments.
And honestly, I'm glad that we had the last game on Thursday, because this is just not a great spot for the Eagles when you just look at it. They're traveling out west. I mean, yeah, it's a Sunday night game. But then you get Baltimore next week, and like Baltimore is a top tier AFC team. Like it's like, I know you don't look past anything. You try not to. I don't think the players are going to personally, but just the way the spot's set up, it's like, okay, we can beat this team. Let's go. Like their defense is not good. We should be able to run all over this team again. We should be able to our offense has to put up 30 plus points in order to win a game, but it's very doable against this Rams defense. So
100%.
I'm confident going into this game.
I feel like I am too. I'm not as worried as I've been hearing most of the fan base feel about it. I've been listening to the sports radio a lot this week, and a lot of people have been saying they're really worried about it, and that some people think that we're going to lose. I'm really not on that page. I really think that this team has been playing dominant football, and they're going in against. I hate to phrase it this way, but an inferior team. They should win this game. And like I said, because they have playmakers and a good coach, they're going to keep it close. And like I said, again, they tend to play better against good teams than they do bad teams. Like the team we saw against New England last week we're not going to see the same game. So I do think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be close, but I'd be pretty shocked if we don't pull this one out.
No, and I also think it's going to be a great test for Quinion. And I think it's going to be more of a test for Cooper because a lot of they do so much motion pre-snap that which is awesome, by the way. Which we did a little bit more. Thank you, Kellen Moore. But regardless, they're a very creative team. They try to trick you in many ways. I'm kind of curious, and I know that there's no reason for me to be nervous about Quinion or Cooper, but just the way that they might have not seen a play caller like Sean McVay just in their NFL career yet. So just seeing different disguises that the Rams put on, they are so good. Like Sean McVay, I will say is a top tier coach in this league. I'm just a little nervous. And I'm sure Vic Fangio will have a game plan and will be good at practice, but I just a little nervous just seeing all those shifts and everything because a lot of teams don't do what the Rams do.
I do think that the Commanders were a bigger test as a team. But I think like you said, when it comes down to Quinion and Cooper DeJean, this is going to be their biggest test of the year so far, for sure. Because one's going to be covering one of two of them is going to be covering Kupp, and the other one's going to be covering DeJean. I mean, not DeJean, sorry, Nakua. And obviously, we've seen from the Rams offense that they like to switch things up, line them up in different spots. Sometimes you'll see Cooper on the outside, and sometimes you'll see Nakua on the inside or vice versa. So you're going to see them with different matchups all day, and they're going to be seeing different looks all day from both guys. Not to mention that they're both guys that tend to make their living off running after the catch. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, but I do think that these guys are prepared. They have been more than impressive this year as rookies, and they play like vets. And I don't think that I don't know how to put this, but I don't think there's many tests in the league that would make me scared for them. I think to me, they're already bona fide, like personally. But I suppose we'll see after this week. It is going to be a test for sure.
That's very. I mean, they've looked stellar. Regardless of that, I really think our O-line, our D-line has to step up in this game because to get pressure on Stafford, that the Rams O-line is not that great, and he's been taking a lot of sacks because he won't have time to load up if you get there. And if our D-line can get there, we might blow them out. I like our D-line. I don't love our D-line. I think our D-line's solid. I love Jalen Carter. Noah Smith. We've been getting a lot of guys coming through and Sweat stepped up. I mean,
it's unfortunate because we watched the 2022 Eagles defensive line, and now we have to compare every defensive line to that. And yes, it's not quite on that level, but these guys have like we've been talking about week to week, they have slowly been getting better and better and better. And like we said in this Washington Commanders game, we saw 3 different guys step up and get big sacks. And even Brandon Graham is coming out here every week and still doing his thing. So to me, this D-line is, I don't want to say great, but very good. So obviously you do, like you were saying, they're a little bit banged up on the O-line. If you can get out there and cause chaos on the line of scrimmage, then the Rams are going to have a really hard time taking off.
Yeah. So what is your score prediction? How do you see this game going?
It's a good question. I didn't think about it till now. It's definitely, like I said, I think it's going to be a pretty tight game. Maybe up until the end, we might pull away. But I'm going to go 34-21. And like I said, that's gonna bank on a late pull ahead fourth quarter.
I like that. I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. It's out in LA, good weather, because coming back down here, we're about to get snow soon. We got a little snow today and everything. It's starting to get cold. You saw the Browns Steelers last night. It's just straight
crazy.
snow.
It just went from summer to winter in the snap of a finger. There was no fall involved. The fall is no longer a season.
No, and then now when you have to watch these games, you're gonna look at Green Bay one day and you're gonna be like, oh, they have a blizzard. Oh, that's crazy.
That time of year, baby.
So, it's gonna be different weather in Baltimore. I can promise you that next week. But I think it's gonna be I'm going 38-28. That's what I was just thinking. I think it's gonna be the Rams coming out early just to a hot start. They like to be methodical. If we can stop the run, I think we might get a shootout with them. If we can control the ball on the ground, it's definitely going to be lower scoring. But I think that McVay is just going to have to put it on Jalen to make plays, especially if coming out about the ankle injury, coming out about all this stuff. I think it's going to come down to Jalen's going to have to step up and make plays. But I know he can, and I'm not worried about that.
I do think in this latter half of the year, it's going to be hard to see what the Eagles have done this year on the ground with Saquon and what Jalen Hurts has done in the way that he is criticized. I think it's going to be hard not for coaches not to try to stack the box and make Jalen beat them in the air. Obviously, it's not possible to do that 100%, but they're going to do their best to put the ball in Jalen's hands and make sure he's the one that beats them.
Yeah. I mean, but we're so gifted with this. I feel like at times as fans, other fans definitely take this O-line for granted, just how dominant this O-line has been this entire season.
Perkins has been awesome this year. I want to put that out there. He had a great game last week.
Bro, there's not many people that could step in for a first ballot Hall of Famer and go, "Oh, we didn't lose
a step. We lost 4% of conversion rate on our tush push."
Yeah, because Kelsey God at that. But other than that, he still can get out in the field, get to the second level. That block that he had for that long touchdown against the Commanders, I was like, wow, that is so Kelsey. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Kelsey didn't call him the closest thing to himself for no reason.
And I love that Kelsey handpicked him. I mean, it's amazing. It's literally taken for granted.
How good this O-line has been for a long time.
I mean, and then you have Lade just laying things, just not letting up a sack ever.
He's one of the oldest O linemen in the league, but you don't. There's never a question when Lane Johnson's in the game that nobody's touching anyone from that side.
And then Bilotta just okay. Oh yeah, you got this guy in the 7th round. Oh yeah, he's gonna be a top 6 guy at left tackle in the league. So yeah, have fun with that. What?
It's awesome, man. It really is
so much fun. But regardless, I'm happy to be sitting at the top of NFC East. I just wanted to get into one more point actually before we go. We saw that Danny Dimes got released today. Daniel Jones got released today. I always call him Danny Dimes because I think it's hilarious.
He's not worthy of that name.
I think it's so funny because I used to call him Danny Dimes, so I kept going with it because I knew he was booty. It looks like the Giants are tanking. Tommy DeVito is the starting quarterback. Dallas is in disarray. I guess Jerry Jones making calls, being Trey Lance into starting. Since what is the owner, GM, the guy that makes those calls? They're in disarray, falling off a cliff, and
they're never going to do. They are never. There's a reason that they haven't won anything since 1980, and there's one key common factor, and that factor would be Mr. Jerry Jones himself. They're never going to win with Jerry Jones at the helm because he's an idiot. It's almost hard to believe how much of an idiot he is. He constantly shoots himself in the foot and then gets mad at everybody else when they question him. It's so fun to watch from this side. And I hope that he stays for years to come because they're never going to win with him at the helm. Never.
Biggest egomaniac I've seen as an NFL owner. I've never seen anyone try to make the spotlight on them more as an owner.
Landing a helicopter in the middle of practice, in the middle of the practice field, just making them pause practice so he can land his helicopter. I mean, it's asinine, dude. It's awful. It's awful. I almost so close feel bad for Cowboys fans having to deal with it.
Yeah, until they win a game. And did you hear them? They go, no, don't feel bad for you at all.
I said almost for a reason.
Yeah, sometimes. Never. But, yeah, regardless, I mean, it's just – but the thing is, you don't hear other owners' names. Who's the owner of the Rams? Do you know on top of your head?
No idea.
Because you shouldn't. Even Jeffrey Lurie is one of the best owners. Like, he's obviously well known all around the league because he's been there for so long. But, like, when's the last time Jeffrey Lurie has even spoken to the press after a game? Like, right after a game. You don't see it because he's not stupid.
Yeah. You're not supposed to be the one involved. There's a reason that there's guys that are really good at their jobs that do this. You don't have to prove yourself, Jerry Jones. It's okay. You're already a billionaire. Everyone, you could be fine like that. But no, even in his mid-80s, he's still trying to prove that he's good at something that he's just not. He's just not good at it.
No. And then, yeah. I mean, the only owner I know Tom has is Robert Kraft, and obviously it's just because of that dynasty and Bill Belichick's.
I can't think of anybody else.
But, the Green Bay's owned by, the fans, but whatever. Anyway, other than that, no. And that's just so funny. I just wanted to mention that before we go because it's a good laugh. It's nice to see.
It's a good laugh. And you saw what I said to you the other day. The Cowboys have the opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time. It would be to sign Daniel Jones this week and have him play against the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. It would be hilarious. Everything is in place for it to happen. Please, Jerry Jones, if there was anything you could do right in your whole life, this would be it. Make it happen. It would be cinema, dude. It would be so incredible, especially if they beat them. Oh, it would be great. It would be so great.
But the thing is, the Giants they won't even use Drew Lock because he's a better quarterback. Like Tommy DeVito, you go out there.
Yeah, they don't want a chance. They don't even want a chance at winning games anymore. They were just hey, we've got a funny guy who's really Italian and likes cutlets. He can keep the fan base engaged, and we can lose games. How does that sound?
We get attendance, and we still lose games. They lost to the Panthers, Matt. This is I know it's All right, we have to wrap this up.
Here to be in the NFC, to be the leader of the NFC.
Oh my God. But
yeah, I think that's a good point to check out on.
Yeah, so, I think we were just going into just funny things, but
man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I hope you got a good laugh at the end there because we definitely did. But if you enjoyed this video, please like it, and if you enjoy our videos moving forward, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys regardless. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more updates on the game that we just watched and the game coming next week. So make sure you tune back in and check that out. And in the meantime, we will be rooting for the Birds this weekend. Hopefully we come back to you with a big dub. So with that being said, go Birds, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Birds.